We're now joined by Clare Barber, who's the Minister for DEFA. You all right, Clare?
Very good, thanks.
How important is it to you that the show continues and everyone keeps coming on in?
I think it's hugely important. I think you've just got to come down to either the Royal Show or the Southern Show, where you can see so many people from a huge cross-section of our society coming and really appreciating about Manx agriculture and Manx food, but also all the other stuff that brings people along here. And I think that tells a story almost in itself. So it's become such a almost institution, isn't it? Part of the Isle of Man, part of the social calendar, but with that opportunity where people can learn a little bit more about where food comes from.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, with economic times changing and everything like that, it's going to be a very hard year for farmers over the next 12 months, 18 months, a lot of uncertainty. What have you guys thought about for the next 12 months?
So I think it's fair to say it's already a very hard time, for farmers, and I recognise all businesses and all people are affected by some of the challenges that we're seeing, but farmers are very much affected and have been possibly a little bit earlier on with some of the things around fertiliser costs. We're seeing the cost of wheat and grain rising. They're obviously not immune from the cost of fuel, just as everyone else is. And obviously sometimes there's issues around freight because some of the items need to be imported and they're quite bulky. So there's a number of issues that are affecting farming. But as I say, we have an opportunity at the shows where they can then sell directly to consumers and really showcase their product. But from a DEFA perspective, it's about making sure that we're supporting farming almost as that bigger picture, because farming has a massive part to play, as we know, in our food security. We recognise some items will never be produced on the Isle of Man purely because our climate just isn't the right climate for it. But the reality is that they also have a big part to play in flood management, in terms of carbon sequestration opportunities, in terms of our land management, and the percentage of the land that is managed by farmers is absolutely huge. So I think it's always really important to remember that farmers are, fundamental to our food security, but they do so much more.
Yeah. And obviously being at the show, you're going to encourage lots of people to buy local and produce their own products as well. And how's that been going around this morning?
Yeah, really good, and it's great to see, it's not just the product for sale, it's the story that goes with it. So you go and see the beekeepers and you can buy honey and you can buy honeycomb and you can buy candles and you can buy soaps and so on, but actually it's the story it tells. My kids for years have always go to the beekeeper's tent to find the queen bee with a little dot on her back, and you learn a little bit about how that process works, and that stuff sticks with people, I think, and it's the story that goes with it. And then there's that, when you're buying honey, you think, well, actually I want to buy Manx honey, because when I spoke to the guys in the beekeeper's tent, they explained to me why that's so important, and a big part of our biodiversity and food security. So I think there's just such an exciting story to tell at the shows, and it's an opportunity to see the livestock and understand the journey that goes on and how much of that process supports local, and understand that accumulator effect. So it's not just the money that you pay over the till, it's all the other money that's being spent within our economy by those farmers that's benefiting all of us.
Yeah, and I think it's really good, isn't it, for people to go around and meet the people who literally put the blood, sweat and tears into creating that product, as well as realising the margins actually they're making are very tight and where their money's really going.
Absolutely, and the margins are tight, and I think it's when the farmers go to sell to some of the bigger retailers, that can be really challenging, because the retailers are looking to get the best price, and the farmers then there's a limited option as to how much they can put the price up to make sure that they still have their product in with the retailers. But I mean, we see how hard the farmers work. The farmers haven't just turned up here today and this was all set up ready for them. The farmers have been part of the setting up, but also at 4 a.m. they'd have been out today moving sheep, for example, as I know one of them was, because he was putting films on Facebook. So it's so much bigger than, this is just an additional part of what they're doing, but it's such an important and valuable part, because it's really showcasing that Manx story, and I think what better than to be able to say that you came to the show and you brought your dinner, and all of it has come from within a sort of 10-mile radius of where we're sitting right now, and we can really enjoy that, and the flavours are just, they speak for themselves.
Yeah, they do. No, thank you very much, Clare, and we'll catch up a bit later on.